Hey there, this is Maria from English Without Fear. Before we look at Christopher Columbus, I'd like to ask you to help me. What is one thing that you find difficult in learning English or teaching English? Leave me a comment below this video, please, and let me know how I can help you more.
English Without Fear, where you can learn to speak English naturally through listening to stories.
In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That is one line from a poem that I learned as a little child. It helps remember the date, 1492. Who was Christopher Columbus? And why are we talking about him in this video? Christopher Columbus was an Italian who grew up in the 1400s in Italy. When he was about 10 years old, he started work on ships. He started sailing on ships all over the known world, up to England and around Europe and around Africa. He never went to school, but he learned to read and he studied a lot. He studied languages, geography, culture, and everything about ships. All his studying made him think, made him want to find a new way to get to East India. Why was that? What was in East India, which is way, way east of Italy? Why did Columbus want to find a new way to get to East India? That's easy. In East India, there were lots of spices for sale. What are spices? Spices are dry bits of plants or powdered bits of plants that make food taste good. They help food taste good. And many Europeans wanted the spices from East India. But to get to East India took days and days and weeks on foot, and it was dangerous. Columbus had the idea that if he sailed a ship west, the other direction, he could go and find a new way by sea to East India and save time, and it would be safer. Furthermore, there'd be plenty of room on a ship to bring back these spices. Columbus took his good idea and went around Europe talking to different kings and queens because he didn't have any money. It costs money to buy ships, to buy supplies for ships, and to hire sailors. Finally, after 3 or 4 or 5 years, finally, the King and Queen of Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella, they bought into his idea. They said, Columbus, your idea is a good idea. We trust you. We believe you can do this. We want to give you the money to buy 3 ships, to buy supplies for the journey, and to hire sailors. Columbus was very happy. So he did that. He had 3 ships built: the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and he hired sailors to go with him on this journey, on this trip. He left with his sailors on the 3 ships in early August 1492. It was a long journey, and the storms were many, and his sailors became impatient. What does impatient mean? Impatient is when you get tired of waiting. His sailors kept saying, "Captain Columbus, this trip is taking longer than you said. We don't see any land. Where are the East Indies?" Columbus prayed a lot. He was a Christian and he prayed a lot. But the sailors grew very violent. They almost took over the ship from Columbus. They almost rebelled. But in the nick of time, as we say, just at the right time, someone spotted land. Land! I see land. When did the ships arrive at this land? On October 12th, the 12th day of October, 1492, 2 months later. Where did Columbus land? Did he land in the East Indies? Nope, not at all. His calculations were wrong. Where he landed was in the Caribbean, on an island in the Bahamas today called San Salvador. Later, he established a colony in Haiti, which is with the Dominican Republic. Columbus went back to Spain, took some samples of products he found and some local people back to Spain, and made 3 more trips from Europe to what we call the New World. What were some good things that came out of these trips? Some benefits. And what were some bad things that came out of these trips? First, the good things. Columbus brought horses over to the New World. Horses changed the way people found food. Instead of looking for food on foot, they now could look for food on horseback. The Europeans also brought wheat over to the New World, and the wheat saved many people during times of famine. The Europeans also were able to take corn, tomatoes, and potatoes back to Europe, new foods for Europeans. And those 3 foods saved many Europeans during times of famine. What is famine? Famine is when people don't have enough food and they might die. The 4th thing that helped the New World was coffee from Africa and sugar from East Asia. Columbus brought these 2 products, and local people started planting them and made money from coffee beans and sugar cane. So those were the good benefits, the good outcomes. What about the negative? What were the bad results of Columbus's 4 voyages to the New World? Number 1, lots of diseases. The local people did not have a resistance to the diseases. They had no protection against European diseases, and many local people died. The second bad negative result was slavery. Columbus introduced the slave trade to the New World. He also thought that the native people would make good slaves for Europe. That was very bad. So yes, there are good things that Columbus's trips produced and bad things that Columbus's trips produced. That is life. That is history. Today in America, who celebrates Columbus Day and how is it celebrated? The first thing you need to know is that for years, since the 1700s, people in America celebrated Columbus Day, celebrated 12 October 1492. In 1937, many Italian Americans convinced the President Roosevelt, to declare a national holiday. And President Roosevelt did. So since 1937, 12 October has been a holiday, a federal holiday. Post offices are closed, federal workers have the day off, but many other jobs, other people don't have the day off. Most schools continue teaching. Businesses are open. What kind of celebrations go on? A lot of Italian Americans celebrate with parades and with food. On the other hand, a lot of Americans celebrate a different form of this day. They celebrate what they call indigenous people. They celebrate the people who were living in the New World before Columbus came. They honor the native people. They honor the local people who lived there when Columbus came. Yes, Columbus Day has controversy, has reasons for discussion. That is okay. That is history. Every event in history has reason to discuss. There are good points and bad points about every event, about the events in your life too. Well, this is Maria from English Without Fear. Please leave a comment. Tell me what you think about Columbus Day. And also, you learners of English, you teachers of English, let me know what is the problem, what is the hardship, what is the difficulty that you struggle with, that you need help with right now. Leave me a comment. That's all for this episode. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for watching. For questions or comments, here's my email